Think about this for a second. What if the person investigating your deepest, darkest secret was the exact same person you were slowly, helplessly falling for? That is a terrifying level of vulnerability, and it's the entire engine behind TVN's 2026 hit, Filing for Love. Known in Korean as Secret Audit, this show disguises itself as a standard office rom-com, but is actually something far more interesting underneath. A paranoid workplace thriller that uses the concept of corporate audits to ask genuinely uncomfortable questions about loyalty, desire, and double standards. And it proves, once again, that the funniest shows are usually carrying the heaviest weight. At its core, it follows Joo-in-na, the youngest female department head in Heymu Group's audit history, who holds a secret she can't tell anyone. And Noh Ki-jun, the audit team's former golden boy who suddenly finds himself at her mercy. 6 episodes in, this drama has already done something rare. It's made you root for both of them and made you understand exactly why they can't have each other yet. Now, workplace romances are everywhere in media. They're a dime a dozen. But usually HR or the internal audit team is just a boring, bureaucratic obstacle. The fun police the main couple has to hide from. So what happens when you make the audit department the actual main character? It changes literally everything. It completely inverts the power dynamic of The Secret. Because when the people falling in love are the exact same people whose job it is to police workplace relationships, the irony isn't just a background joke, it's baked into the DNA of every single scene. They aren't hiding from some faceless HR department down the hall, they're hiding from their own professional identities. Every case they investigate becomes a funhouse mirror, reflecting their own unspoken desires because they're forced to pass judgment on others for the exact infractions they want to commit themselves. The world, Heymu Group. To really grasp the stakes of this show, you need to understand the world it's built in. Welcome to Heymu Group, a massive Korean conglomerate, and that word conglomerate matters. This isn't just a large company. It's a sprawling, family-controlled mega-corporation with its hands in electronics, construction, hospitality, and more. Because it's family-run, the internal hierarchy is closer to a feudal kingdom than a modern Western corporation. Loyalty isn't just valued, it's everything. And within Heymu Group, the internal audit department is the absolute apex predator, the most feared team in the entire building. Sitting right at the top of that food chain is our male lead, Noh Ki-jun, played by Gong Myung. The office calls him the Smile Angel, which tells you everything. He's hyper-competent, charming, and he knows exactly how to navigate this cutthroat environment while keeping a warm exterior. The series opens by establishing his dominance immediately. He's wrapping up a high-profile corporate espionage case involving an executive doing illegal business with overseas competitors. For Ki-jun, taking down an international corporate spy is just a regular Tuesday. He fully expects a major promotion. He is at the absolute peak of his career. And then the universe drops a piano on his head. Enter Joo-in-na, played by Shin Hye-sun, the newly appointed head of the entire audit department and the youngest female executive in the history of Heymu Group. The reaction to her arrival is immediate and hilarious. The planning department is practically throwing a party because she's leaving them, while the audit department is writing their wills. Her first order of business sets the tone completely. She doesn't hold a team meeting. She personally interviews every single employee, one-on-one. People leave her office in tears. Some are so psychologically wrecked they need physical support to walk back to their desks. Ki-jun swaggers into his interview, fully expecting this legendary new boss to recognize his undeniable genius. Instead, In-na transfers him, and not laterally. She demotes him all the way down to Audit Team 3. To understand just how humiliating this is, you need to understand Heymu's audit hierarchy. Teams 1 and 2 handle the existential threats. Major embezzlement, corporate malpractice, high-level information leaks. Team 3 is the public morals squad. Minor employee complaints, petty interpersonal scandals, dress code violations. It's the ultimate demotion. Like taking an elite operative who busts international spy rings and suddenly making him a middle school hall monitor. You literally watch the light depart from Ki-jun's eyes. The Smile Angel instantly becomes a deeply depressed, cynical 9-to-5er who resents every second of his existence. And the show does not hold back on the physical indignity of it all. His first week is a parade of humiliations. He's assigned to search the company garden for illicit poppies. He tries to use elite espionage interrogation tactics on a convenience store clerk, and she tricks him into buying snacks for her and her boyfriend. And then the moment that broke the internet. A paranoid wife marches in and hands Ki-jun a single-used tissue as proof of her husband's infidelity. Our elite corporate spy takes one look, drops it, and flees to the bathroom. It sounds cartoonish, but it serves a very specific psychological purpose. The show is forcing Ki-jun through a complete death of the ego. In Team 1, he dealt with wire transfers and numbers, clean, clinical. Team 3 deals with the messy, gross, deeply human realities of weakness and desire. The used tissue isn't just a gag, it's a warning about what this job and this show is actually about. Because in Team 1, Ki-jun dealt with wire transfers and numbers, clean, clinical. Team 3 deals with the messy, gross, deeply human realities of weakness and desire. And the ego death just keeps going. Later, there's a massive ruckus in the office involving a disgruntled former employee, and Ki-jun actually faints from the sheer chaos, earning him the office nickname Heymu, Fainting Man. The writers are actively deconstructing the typical male lead archetype here. He isn't allowed to be the flawless, brooding hero. He's stripped of his prestige and forced to live in the unglamorous basement of corporate life. And what a basement it is, because Audit Team 3 is filled with the most specific, lived-in corporate archetypes. Anyone who has ever worked in an office will instantly recognize these people. There's manager Guangil, a man who has been rotated through various departments, faced repeated demotions, and has completely surrendered any ambition. He just wants to coast to retirement without anyone noticing him. The walking embodiment of quiet quitting. Then there's manager Cha Song-tae, the guy who delegates every single task, aggressively avoids actual work, uses the company card for personal expenses, and spends hours hiding in a bathroom stall, checking his stock portfolio or scrolling second-hand apps. He survives purely by being slippery. To counterbalance him, there's the bookkeeper Shin Hye-sun, terrifying in the best way. She controls Team 3's microfinances with an iron fist, and her personal budgeting rules are actually stricter than the official company guidelines. True power doesn't always lie with the grandest title. It lies with whoever physically controls the purse strings. And rounding out the team is Yoon Da-ye, an economics degree from Seoul National University, a CPA license, elite credentials by any measure. And she is completely burned out by the relentless, grinding competition of the Korean educational and corporate system. She just wants to exist. It's a deeply textured, deeply real environment. And the visual contrast is intentional. The clinical perfection of Team 1 versus the cluttered, lived-in reality of Team 3 mirrors Ki-jun's internal journey. He has to learn to find value in the mess. But of course, the architect of all this mess is the woman in the corner office. So let's really examine the chessboard, starting with her. Ju In-na, played by Shin Hye-sun. She arrives like a feared Grim Reaper, but her actual demeanor completely subverts expectations. In K-dramas, there's a well-worn archetype called the Candy Girl. Poor, relentlessly optimistic, smiling through adversity, totally subservient to the brooding male lead. In-na is the absolute antithesis of that, yet she understands the aesthetic of it perfectly. She shows up radiating warmth and smiles until someone tests the perimeter. An employee challenges her authority directly, probably expecting her to back down to keep the peace. She instantly, ruthlessly crushes the insubordination. The internal company chatter calls her a mad woman, but the critical acclaim for Shin Hye-sun's performance comes from the fact that she doesn't play In-na as a one-dimensional ice queen. She plays her as someone performing immense emotional labor. And in a rigid patriarchal conglomerate, a woman achieving department head at her age is inherently a target. She has to be impenetrable just to survive the daily environment. Her ruthlessness isn't innate cruelty. It's a meticulously crafted survival mechanism. But beneath it, she has a wicked sense of humor. She pulls a genuinely unsettling psychological prank on Ki-jun during an investigation. And when he actually gets the joke instead of crumbling, she's visibly shocked. Those microscopic cracks in the armor are what make their dynamics so electric. Shin Hye-sun joked in a cast interview that viewers would notice Gong Myung's flaring nostrils and wide-open mouth in every single scene. Noh Ki-jun, played by Gong Myung. Initially, Ki-jun's reaction to In-na is purely adversarial. She is an obstacle and he wants revenge, and the narrative hands him the perfect weapon. He receives an anonymous tip claiming his terrifying new boss is having a secret workplace affair with a married man. His eyes light up. He sees a clear path back to Team 1. If he can prove the head of Audit is having an illicit affair, she's finished and he's the hero. So he immediately reverts to elite espionage mode. He tails her through the city. He digs through the trash outside her local convenience store. He even checks the receipt and thinks he's found the smoking gun. But when he looks closer and talks to the clerk, he realizes the receipt isn't even hers. What he actually discovers is that In-na barely buys enough food to survive. She never buys for two. She is profoundly, completely alone. And that's where his revenge plot starts unraveling from the inside, because he has to actually observe her, and the one-dimensional villain in his head doesn't match this lonely, burdened woman. The resentment quietly drains away and morphs against his will into curiosity, and then into something he really didn't sign up for. Jun Jae-yul, played by Kim Jae-wook. Jae-yul is a study in contradictions. Third-generation chaebol heir, looks perfect on paper, but carries enormous generational trauma. His biological mother had severe mental illness and was quietly pushed out. His current reality is no better. He's locked in a bitter succession war with his reckless half-brother Sung-yeol, with the chairman openly calling him too soft. He's trapped in a loveless strategic marriage. He's trapped in a loveless marriage with a woman who mocks him. And amidst all of this, Jae-yul has a complicated, fiercely guarded history with In-na. The show peels it back slowly and deliberately, but his protectiveness of her is visible. And the more protective he gets, the more uncomfortable the audience becomes, because the power imbalance is real. He's the vice president, she's a department head. His protection inherently puts her authority at risk. Park Ajung, played by Hong Hwa-yeon. Ajung is an absolute agent of chaos. She is Jae-yul's executive secretary and also Ki-jun's ex-girlfriend of 2 years. She ghosted him completely and then 2 years later turned up on his doorstep and somehow moved into his apartment. We later learn she ghosted him because loan sharks came after her over her brother's debt. Jae-yul found her in the office lobby and quietly offered her an empty company apartment. And when she assumed he wanted something in return, he simply didn't. That genuine, unexpected kindness created a trauma bond. Her feelings for him became all-consuming. She oversteps constantly as his secretary, manages his personal life, and at one point forces a kiss on him. He tells her it was a mistake and walks away. She refuses to give up. One viewer online crystallized the entire situation perfectly. Hold on, is the secretary trying to seduce her married boss while living in her ex's house? And yes, that is exactly what is happening. But there's a thematic purpose to this madness. The writers built this overlapping love square to make everyone uncomfortable. A deliberate exploration of blurred boundaries that mirrors a drama centered on auditing office misconduct. The cases they investigate act as procedural mirrors reflecting their own internal chaos. Which brings us to those early cases. And the first major one perfectly announces what this show is doing. Zone F, the legendary 4th floor basement parking lot. The only area in the entire Heymu building without CCTV coverage, which has made it a de facto underground love motel for employees. Team 3 runs a physical stakeout using what manager Guangil calls their humint network, which is just a fancy way of saying they gossip with security guards and cleaning staff. There's a fascinating subplot running underneath the stakeout, a married couple who pretend not to know each other at work. The distance gets to the wife. She almost slips up with a coworker, feels guilty, calls her husband, and they end up hooking up in their own car in Zone F. It's so messy. Ki-jun needs a stakeout partner, and everyone makes excuses. But Ki-jun is feeling unusually bold at this point, because a director from strategic planning has quietly told him there's a spot for him on a prestigious new team. He sees his escape route. Emboldened, he challenges In-na to join the stakeout. They catch a rocking car, flash their lights, and expose a couple in the act. But Ki-jun's smirk vanishes the moment he sees who steps out. Director Kim, the exact man who was supposed to rescue him. The escape route closes, the trap snaps shut. Meanwhile, the mystery threads are already running underneath everything. In-na is spotted late at night contemplating whether to delete files Ki-jun sent her on Heymu Pharmaceuticals. At the end of episode 2, she's seen meeting a man in secret, and he's wearing a wedding ring. Online, viewers were already losing their minds. Is In-na trying to cover something up? What was that about the deleted files? The chaos feels completely deliberate, and viewers were already fully hooked. But before we move forward, we need to address a dilemma that the show plants deliberately in those early episodes, because In-na's decision-making in episode 1 is deeply uncomfortable, and intentionally so. When she investigates the affair between two junior employees, Myung-soo and Mi-young, her ruling is ice cold. Myung-soo is married, the one who broke his vows, but he's a top earner leading a key project. Mi-young is single with lower performance metrics. In-na demotes Mi-young and gives Myung-soo a slap on the wrist. Ki-jun argues it's morally wrong. In-na responds that a corporation doesn't reward good and punish bad. It only measures profit and loss. Mi-young caused less financial damage. Case closed. Then cut to director Kim in the parking lot. Same show, same In-na, and she recommends immediate termination. So is she corrupt, protecting top earners while punishing the weak? Not quite. Director Kim isn't fired for infidelity. He's a chronically underperforming executive who survived purely on his personal ties to the company president. Heymu also has an ironclad policy. Any executive caught in a relationship with a subordinate is instantly terminated. No exceptions, because the liability exposure is too greater. The affair is just the convenient bureaucratic mechanism to remove a problem that already existed. In-na isn't corrupt. She's operating with ruthless precision within the system's own logic. It's chilling, but it rings absolutely true to corporate politics. And what makes all of this digestible is the comedy running underneath it. Because episode 3 is where the show finds its full comedic voice. Ki-jun is secretly trailing In-na through the city, trying to build his case against her, and he frantically sprints up 14 flights of stairs, when 13 floors would have been enough to reach the right level. It's a perfect physical metaphor for his entire arc at this point. Massive energy, completely misdirected. Then there's the team dinner debacle. The male members of Team 3 are completely paralyzed trying to pick a restaurant for a dinner that includes both Yule and his brother Sung-yeol. One wants seafood, the other can't have it. The men are sweating, pacing, calling former bosses for advice, absolutely crippled by the hierarchy. Meanwhile, the two female staff members look at them, book a restaurant that serves both premium seafood and Korean barbecue, and have it solved in 10 seconds. It's sharp, deliberate comedy. The men paralyzed by hierarchy, while the women, already marginalized, just pragmatically solve the problem and move on. But episode 3 also takes a genuinely dark turn with the Guangil case. Guangil, the quietly kind team leader, helps a widowed cafeteria worker by sneaking her premium leftovers from an executive meeting. She grabs his hands in the hallway to thank him. Someone snaps a photo. HR spins it into a viral workplace scandal, accusing him of preying on a vulnerable woman. And the truth is even uglier. The HR director is deliberately weaponizing this manufactured scandal to distract the company's internal gossip network from the succession war between Jeju and Sung-yeol. They destroy an innocent man's reputation as PR cover. In-na's initial response is cold. She revokes Guangil's access and puts him on unpaid leave. Team 3 stages a walkout in protest. But then Ki-jun overhears something that changes everything. In-na is in a closed-door confrontation with the HR director, demanding the post comes down. The HR director smirks and tells her that in management, you cover a rumor with another rumor. And In-na completely drops the armor. She lunges across the table, grabs the HR director by the hair, and they get into a vicious physical brawl that immediately becomes the hottest topic on the company chat. Ki-jun watches the whole thing, and his entire understanding of her shifts. The coldness wasn't indifference, it was tactical. She was protecting Team 3's jurisdiction while going to war for Guangil behind closed doors. The resentment evaporates. Genuine respect takes its place. which sets the stage for episode 4 and the Jeju Island undercover mission. They travel to investigate an AI consultant named James, who is coercing a junior engineer named Hak-yong. To get close enough for evidence, they have to pose as a couple and book the hotel room right next to his. The atmospheric tension in that room is suffocating. Cramped sofa, shared wine, and Ki-jun is internally short-circuiting, because earlier that week, while trailing In-na on his investigation, he followed her to what he assumed was an evening art class. She wasn't carrying any supplies. He snuck inside and discovered that the terrifying head of Audit spends her evenings as a nude model for art students. It completely recontextualizes her rigid daytime persona. And now he's sitting 2 feet away from her in a hotel room, hyper-aware of every single thing. In a spectacularly backfired attempt at chivalry, he offers to strip down first so she won't feel uncomfortable. She teases him mercilessly. They lose their footing and tumble onto the bed, In-na accidentally pinning Ki-jun underneath her, and the only thing that saves them is the elevator ding announcing that Hak-yong has arrived next door. They scramble to the wall and listen. James threatens Hak-yong aggressively, and In-na bypasses every protocol, kicks the door open, and punches James squarely in the jaw. As one reviewer noted, everyone talks about the romantic kiss later, but that punch was the real catalyst. By resorting to physical violence to protect an employee she barely knows, she shatters her own armor entirely. The professional boundaries they've been clinging to dissolve, which brings us to the sequence that broke the internet. Earlier that week, Ki-jun had discovered In-na's secret at the art studio. Back from Jeju, still buzzing from the fight and the charged energy between them, he goes back to the studio alone. He sits in the back and starts sketching her while she models. He waits until every other student leaves. In-na steps down, wraps herself in a robe and walks over to see his sketchbook. She marvels at how he captured her. He looks up, completely unguarded, and just says, "You're pretty." The armor is entirely gone, for both of them, and then they're kissing. Not the frozen, doe-eyed K-drama kiss where one person stands there like a statue. Both of them go for it. Urgent, mutual, passionate. 2 adults who have been circling each other for weeks, finally running out of excuses. The internet lost its mind. Viewers called it the best kiss scene of 2026. One said, "We usually wait 12 episodes for hand-holding." Another, "This is the definition of real adult chemistry. I wasn't expecting that level of intensity from either of them." Reviewers specifically praised that In-na didn't freeze. She went for it just as much as he did. This is the scene you clip. Everything before it is set up. Everything after it is consequence. The immediate aftermath in episode 5 is what elevates the show into a brilliant comedy of errors. Reality crashes back in. In-na breaks the kiss, visibly shaken, and her reaction is pure flight response. She sprints to a 24-hour supermarket, buys a pile of alcohol, and literally shoves her head inside a commercial freezer just to lower her core temperature. It is one of the funniest and most relatable reactions to an unexpected kiss in recent K-drama memory. Ki-jun goes home and steps into the shower and stays in so long that Ajung pounds on the door asking if it's a medical emergency. Fans were delighted. The shower scene was just for us girlies to understand why In-na had to spend time in the convenience store freezer, because wow. The next morning brings denial. In-na acts like the kiss never happened, but the show hands them a new case designed to make her confront her own logic out loud. A cosmetic salesman named Min-woo is accused of misleading a VIP client about the nature of a kiss between them. Min-woo says he was drunk and it meant nothing. The client counters that you cannot kiss someone with that intent and then unilaterally declare it meaningless after the fact. It is their exact argument, playing out in an interrogation room in front of both of them. Ki-jun seizes it completely. He interrogates Min-woo's logic while staring directly at In-na, asking out loud, if a kiss can mean nothing to one person and everything to another, what exactly does that say about theirs? He delivers the line that viewers immediately clipped and shared everywhere. "I've had enough kisses to know this one feels different." He won't let her rewrite what happened. And the show makes absolutely sure we understand that In-na's resistance isn't arrogance. its armor over something much deeper. The catalyst arrives when her estranged father collapses outside her apartment with a brain tumor. In a quiet bar after the hospital, In-na finally opens up. Her mother had an affair with a married man, In-na's biological father, who refused to acknowledge her existence. When the secret got out, the bullying was relentless and they were forced to flee their hometown. In-na thought getting into a Seoul university would be her fresh start. Then she discovered her mother working as a nude model at the college art studio. Her mother said it made her feel free. To In-na, carrying the weight of being a mistress's child, it felt like the ultimate humiliation. She cut contact completely. And then her mother died in a traffic accident while actively searching for In-na to apologize. The guilt and grief never left. She took over the nude modeling job at that exact studio as penance. Ki-jun's response cements him as one of the best male leads of the year. He doesn't offer a grand speech. He doesn't try to fix her trauma. He sits across from her, listens, and cries. He absorbs her pain without making it about himself. By the end of the night, he's completely drunk and emotionally defenseless, and In-na practically carries him home, only to have Ajung open the door. Episode 6 opens with reality snapping back hard. Ajung is aggressively touchy with Ki-jun in the elevator the very next morning, deliberately right in front of In-na. In-na's armor clicks straight back into place. She shuts Ki-jun down coldly, claiming there's another man in her life. But before they can resolve any of it, a massive corporate scandal erupts. Top celebrity model PK gets into a car accident with his secret lover. Heymu's executives mandate the company protect him at all costs. Ki-jun and In-na dig into the case and discover that the marketing team leader Ji-won is being forced to publicly claim she was the woman in the car, ordered to destroy her own reputation to protect someone far more powerful. Because the truth is far more dangerous. PK is having an affair with Yule's volatile alcoholic wife, the heir to the rival Sesan group. She is blackmailing Ji-won, forcing this innocent woman to take the fall. It's a terrifying demonstration of chaebol power dynamics, the working class as disposable human shields. The confrontation that follows leaves the entire boardroom in shock. Ki-jun presents the truth to the executives, insisting on protecting Ji-won's identity. The door bursts open and Yule's wife storms in, marches directly up to In-na and physically attacks her, furious that a lowly auditor dared to investigate her. Yule has to physically drag her out. In the quiet aftermath, Ki-jun tends to In-na's wounds, including the bruises she got playing football with Ji-won's children during her weekend investigation. It's a small, tender moment. Then the other executives return and In-na abruptly excuses herself, which ignites a jealousy spiral in Ki-jun that is both completely unhinged and completely understandable. He discovers she took the rest of the day off and spots her getting into a car with Sung-yeol. His imagination immediately assumes the worst. He follows them to a seaside hotel, ready to confront them, and walks directly into an official Heymu group executive retreat lunch. The second-hand embarrassment is physically painful. He fabricates an excuse about an urgent message, but instead of leaving, he stays, pulls up a chair, and starts flirting with In-na with reckless abandon right in front of the entire board. As one viewer put it, "Does this man have a death wish? Does he want to get fired?" He's finally past caring about the system's rules. But In-na is still terrified, which leads to the emotional climax of episode 6, the claw machine. They stop at an arcade game, and In-na uses it to explain her worldview. The metal claw holds strong for exactly 3 seconds, but the game is mathematically rigged. It's programmed to release the tension and drop the prize before you can secure it. She tells him, no matter how many times you try, the system will not let you win. She isn't rejecting Ki-jun because she doesn't feel anything. She's rejecting him because her trauma has hardwired her with learned helplessness. She views herself as that rigged claw, genuinely convinced that happiness is structurally not meant for her. She tells him he's confusing pity with love and walks away. Ki-jun's countermove is everything. He doesn't chase her to argue. He stays at that arcade, empties his pockets, and plays the rigged game over and over until he forces the claw to hold and wins the plushie. He marches back, presents it without a single word, and proves that with enough stubborn effort, the impossible can be won. he utterly refuses to accept her metaphor. And just as her worldview is beginning to crack, Yule appears and pulls In-na into a deeply intimate hug, ostensibly to comfort her after his wife's attack. In-na is visibly pushing him away, and Ki-jun, the disgraced subordinate from Team 3, immediately steps forward and physically shoves the vice president of the entire conglomerate off his boss. The screen cuts to black. In-na is left standing between two powerful men, clutching a stuffed animal with absolutely no idea what to do next. And here is where the show reveals its central tension, the one it's been building towards since episode 1. Heymu Group has that ironclad rule. Any executive caught dating a subordinate is immediately terminated. The exact rule In-na used against director Kim in episode 2. If Ki-jun and In-na choose each other, they are choosing to destroy their own careers inside the very system they enforce. The show is asking a genuinely subversive question. In a world where you are constantly monitored and audited, is the person standing next to you worth risking everything for? Because they are the auditors, they know exactly how unforgiving the system is. Choosing love here is a conscious act of professional self-destruction, and the audience cannot look away. The industry numbers reflect it. The show opened at 4.4% nationwide, climbed to 6.3% by episode 2, and that episode 4 cliffhanger sent it soaring, peaking at 10.6% by episode 6, topping every cable and general programming channel in its time slot and vastly outperforming its predecessor. Even competing with global productions, Filing for Love is officially the #1 drama in Korea right now. The critical consensus on why it resonates is consistent across every review. It treats its audience with genuine respect. There is no naive candy girl waiting to be rescued, no cold CEO who just needs the right woman to fix him. Instead, we have a complex, traumatized executive fighting battles most people can't see, and an emotionally intelligent man who knows that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply sit down, listen, and cry. The show presents a frustratingly real office environment. Genuine ethical grey areas, the seduction of quiet quitting, digital misinformation used as a weapon, and the profound hypocrisy of corporate morality versus corporate profit. It's an adult K-drama where people actually act their age. As we close out this deep dive, the question the show is really asking isn't about K-dramas at all. We all understand the exhausting weight of wearing professional armor, the meticulously constructed work persona built purely to survive, and the terrifying vulnerability of letting someone peek behind it and see who you actually are. We live in a world of constant auditing, not just HR. Keystrokes tracked, messages logged, expressions monitored on video calls. Perhaps the only true rebellion left is an unguarded heart. In-na's secret isn't just personal, it connects upward. And the higher up it reaches, the more dangerous Ki-jun's feelings for her become. Episodes 7 through 12 are going to ask both of them the same question. When everything you've built could fall apart, is the person standing next to you worth the risk? If your internal emotional state is the very last true secret you have left, how fiercely are you guarding it? And more importantly, who are you keeping it from? We'll see you for the second half.